But our big problem is that we think we know what we're supposed to have faith in. So we've got all these gods that have been named for us, and they have been named. Gods were invented by human beings filled with fear and looking for a way to console themselves with something that they could create from themselves, from their own images, and then feel as if they're at peace because now they have something to call on outside of themselves. Most of you know, and I don't know wherever it is that I'm talking, whoever I'm talking to.
Yeah, the feed went down for a moment, but it got it back
up. The world at large. I'm glad you're here. But I'm a bit of a naturalist. I love nature intensely. And I spend a lot of time by grace with a host of different creatures, deer, turkeys, squirrels, and I mean up close with them. They're my friends. And I have a natural love of, I don't, maybe you know what you don't, or you don't, like I have bonsai, I have trees, bonsai trees, the little small Japanese, Chinese, beautiful art in a pot, which is what bonsai means. I have all these trees. Some of them have had 73. Some of them have had for over 55 years, some of my trees. And then again, by grace, I live in the mountains here in Southern Oregon. And I'm surrounded all the time by these beautiful, massive pines of different sorts, and these madrone trees, which are majestic in their own right. They shed their skin every year. Oaks, and then whatever trees we've planted throughout the years on our property, my wife and I. And I see one lesson all the time. And the one lesson I see all the time is that there's some relationship that individual creatures have as instruments of a broader nature with nature, that they're just in this, everything's connected. And it doesn't matter what the moment seems to ask, whether it's the extra hot sun that we've had, or the cold weather, or the predators coming onto the property and the deer responding the way they do. And life never asks one of those creatures that it doesn't tell it at the same moment it's asking it what to do. Never. There's no moment where a deer goes, Jesus, I'm confused. I don't see turkeys, my friends, these two Toms, Benjamin and Franklin. I do a Benji and Frankie. I walk out and they're all hot and bothered because they want to eat the food that I'm giving to the girls, to the deer, And if I don't feed them, they don't go, oh, well, that's it, I'm moving on. I wish they would. Everything's in its stride. And we've been here in this body, my own, for 74 years. You've been in yours for however long you've been in your body. What have you learned about taking things in stride? The answer is not much. Letting things happen. Ourselves. That's an illusion. There's no one there by your name to protect. What there is someone who has a name that has acquired what they've acquired through the years, have become prominent or not prominent, lots of possessions or no possessions, makes no difference. In my own life, I've been fortunate enough to know what you would call the top of it, and I've known the bottom of it. And there's no difference at all. The only difference is the people at the top are neurotic in nice clothes. That's the only difference. Frightened, greedy. Because all the time, what does this mean? What do I do? How do I get through this? This is challenging. Is it going to work out? So many new things. What's going to take place? And our life is just spent caught up in an unconscious relationship with a web of unconscious memory that anything that challenges it rises up instantaneously with resistance. And once resistance steps in to any moment that challenges the content that's supposed to be there, then the questions start. And then making lists and thinking about all the things that have to be done. Because unbeknownst to yourself, your answer always involves getting somewhere and doing something in time. Every question that you ask creates time because it's asked by a nature that's in time. Every question. And we're so used to just marching in line that it never dawns on us, oh my God, I've felt this anxiety, this fear, this worry, I felt this for a million years. And for a million years, when it comes, it always says, well, what's that about? Or I know what that's about. You need to ask differently how to deal with that. And then you're just gone again and gone again and gone again. Instead of letting life bring to you the moment where, to use words, let me just do what life is asking of me right now. That's it. Nothing more. Nothing more. Let me do what life is asking me to do right now. Now, see, the problem is that you think you know what life is asking you to do. And you don't. Because if you knew what life was asking you to do and you did it, you wouldn't have to serve that anymore. You'd be free of it. But we never get free because the more we answer the question, what's life asking of me, the more we are without knowing it, listening to our own unconscious nature, having defined the problem, then asking, what do I need to do to escape this or change that? So all of our questions are basically based on this idea of how do I avoid the experience I have and get past this pain, never seeing that the experience I have in the moment, that, by the way, I don't want, is because something in me has addressed the moment, defined it, and then told me, you need to ask better questions so you can get to a better place downstream. And there is no downstream. God, if you knew that. How many of you have been waiting for a better moment? Your whole life. Your whole life. I'll be sitting here at my computer and I'll realize there's this and there's that, or I'm going to a family reunion, or I'm going to talk to somebody. And there's this and there's that. And then I'm going someplace. Oh God, when you're going there's this and there's that. And I'm not discounting or denigrating the idea of practical thought, but nothing about what you think about is practical. Does anxiety, are tigers vegetarians? It's ludicrous, right? What does practical thought have to do with anxiety? And why am I anxious? Because the question is, how do I deal with what's coming downstream? Believing that I know how I should be and how things should go. So the moment that conflict appears in the consciousness, that instantaneous conflict, that's what I'm trying to get to. I started by saying that we have very little self-knowledge. Because as you grow into self-knowledge, that self-knowledge includes the fact that there is something that goes before you that is a know-it-all, that knows everything, that knows exactly how you should feel and the way things should be going. It's always there. And because it's always there, it's always meeting moments that challenge it. And it believes that it's being challenged by the condition. It's not being challenged by the condition. Its own consideration is being threatened so that the identity is, oh, what do I do? And then all the questions come. What does the sunlight ask of the madrone tree? What does the sunlight ask of the madrone tree? What does the weather ask of the deer? What does the grass, whether it's green or not, ask of the turkeys that stroll through it looking for tender morsels? What is nature always asking herself in her innumerable, infinite creations? Is not creation always active on something that's passive? And what is passive responds according to something that nature has built into that relationship. So that what nature does is she does what she is asked for in that moment, given what she has been given. So the deer respond according to what they have been given, with what they have been given to respond with. And nothing more, because they can't do anything more than that. You and I think we're supposed to do more than that. When the sunlight hits the grapevine responds by being moved into the process of producing the fruit. What it needs to produce the fruit is halfway in the grapevine and halfway in the sun that enervates it. That's not the right word, is it? That vitalizes it, so that the grapevine is all the time doing exactly what nature asks, which is responding with the whole of itself, so that in the relationship between the sun and the vine, the fruit can come forth. And it always has exactly what it needs to do exactly what is required of it. Does it not? Can you think of any creature that isn't constantly given everything it needs to do exactly what it is created to do? Even if it is given the end of itself because it's not supplied something, even then that creature serves the greater nature that it is a part of. So life or death make no difference in the way the answer comes, because it's all built into that reconciliation, if you're following me. Do you think that life is different for you? I mean, I know you do. We all do. For years and years and years, you think life is asking you for something you don't have. And then you have to ask, how do I get it? Don't you? Don't you? I got a problem with a family member. I'm asking, what do I do about that? Life is asking, will you see that you are caught up in something that is in constant conflict, and use this moment as I'm giving it to you, so that you can see that and transcend yourself. Give birth to a new order of being, another kind of fruit. How simple a life would be, which is terrifying to us. It is. You're actually terrified of a simple life. But the contradiction is, everything about what you're doing is to try to make your life simple. Isn't that true? Isn't it? That's all I do, is just keep asking questions. How do I make my life simple? It is simple. It's not simple. I live in this polarized world, and there's possessions and then there's no possessions. And I see these homeless people, and God, I don't want to end up like, in a tent someplace or whatever. You're already in a beggar's tent. That's so hard to show. If I'm sitting worrying about money or people or possession, if I'm worried and thinking, I'm in a beggar's tent. I just don't know I am, because I have the trappings to make it appear as if I'm not, but I'm trapped by my trappings. And part of the trappings I'm trapped by is this organized, synchronized luggage set up here in this brain, carrying all of this material through the millennia. Life is asking you, will you be a decent human being? And it doesn't say, will you be decent? It says, will you see where it is, by the grace of God, you can see this indecency in you? Will you be a patient person? I'm not saying, will you be patient? That's you saying, how do I be patient? Will you be a patient? Will you see how you can't wait for people to finish what they're saying? You cut people. Will you do anything to see how impatient you are? Impatience doesn't prove that you know what's right. It proves that you're identified with something that says it knows what's right. And then when it's not, it jumps on it. Who would have thought? I never would have, honestly. All these years, who would have thought that you would get to a place in your life where all you really want to do is remain as present as you can, in as thorough and innocent relationship as is possible with this light, with this awareness that dwells in the darkness, that the darkness doesn't know. And that you, as that observer and that witness of that interior world, which is a billion gazillion times more complex than this little tiny superficial world that we live in this body, and watch how it all plays out. And understanding that every time that it plays itself out, it completes itself. And if you participate in it playing itself out, then you're participating in your own completion, because it can't be separated from the conditions that are moving you, that are making you see the things you are, seeing yourself as you are. You're driving in your car, somebody cuts you off. The minute that you have that resistance and negative reaction, instantaneously, you don't hear it, something saying, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle this? What's wrong with that person? What does this mean? All the time, just like that quick. And you think it's you that asked the question, because the question is connected to the reactive consciousness that produced it. And the identification with that becomes your identity. And then you start trying to answer the question. But it'd be simple if you were just answering the question. But I can't answer the question, what do I do about this problem, without going into conflict, because I want to vaporize the person. And yet good people don't vaporize others. I want to punish this person. They don't respect me. But good people don't punish other people. So that there's this constant conflict inside of this consciousness, that it never stops asking, how do I deal with this conflict, when the question it asks is hiding the consciousness responsible for it. And that's all for you to see. You can't think your way into freedom. What do you think about, other than what are the answers to the questions that I need to come up with? That's what you think about. And the more you think, the more conflict there is, by necessity. And the more conflict, the more questions. You're a pretty sorry looking group, I'll tell you that. I mean, this should be illuminating to you. Not, oh God, because what? Now what am I going to do? Yeah, no, that's in it. What am I going to do about what he just said? Do what life asks you to do. Be present. Be as conscious as you can of all the movement that's driving these questions, and all this measurement of yourself and judgment of yourself, judgment of the speaker. Just let it all play out. And it does, which is what you don't know. Imagine a lake, you throw a stone into the lake. What happens when you throw a stone in the lake? Now imagine a lake, you throw that stone into it, and it goes, oh my God, what are these ripples? No, I hate ripples. No, not more ripples. That's humanity. But if the lake was a lake, quiet, reflective, receptive, stone would go in, and what would happen? Would it go, what in the name of God are those? Or would it realize it's just a part of its nature? And then the energy would be absorbed by the banks, It would dissipate. The lake would be right back to its quiet, natural, reflective self. That's how we're supposed to be. The parallel is every time you have a thought about yourself, into the lake it goes. And when the thought goes into the lake, oh, what's that? I got to quiet down the ripples. And then you start asking yourself, how do I get less ripples? Just drink more. It's a joke. Never mind. You have to see it. I think on this morning's Insight Timer, Saturday, this Chinese proverb that I covered, tell me about knowledge, tell me I'll forget, show me I might remember, involve me and I'll understand. After I gave the talk this morning, I was thinking, that is exactly what Moses said. Here's a Chinese proverb from God only knows when, and here's Moses. He said exactly the same thing, but you know how he said it? He was talking to whoever he was talking to. It's at least it's written this way. And the basis of it was that the people basically said, oh, Moses, we hear and we will do. Meaning, here's the truth. Now we'll go do it. And Moses said, no, you have that backwards. Do it, and then you'll hear. Isn't that exactly what that is? Involve me and I'll understand. Do it, then I'll hear. Not I'll hear and I'll do it. Because when you say I'll hear and I'll do it, you're taking what comes to you and I'm going to apply it to what I know to do in that circumstance. But if I'm actually doing something, if I'm actually involved in the moment, really present, then the very presence in the moment is instructing me on what to do. And then I hear at last what was being said. Let the moment take care of itself. You'd be surprised how little there is to handle. Honest to God, you would. And I know that most of us say, oh, yeah, sure. What was that great? Oh, I don't know what. There was some movie or a documentary. It might have been in a book. I lose track of these things. And you know how when monks move into monasteries, they're required to give up everything, right? And this, I don't know, it might even be one of my own stories, but I don't know. One of the monks was complaining about one of the other monks, and how he seemed to have given up everything, sold all, and all the rest of that. And basically, the man says, the abbot says, "Do you know that he counts the number of flies that land on his shirt?" That meaning, what that monk does was he is attached to his resistance to the appearance of flies on his shirt. So just because the thing in the mind that you don't own anything doesn't mean you aren't still owned by a nature always looking to identify and possess itself through something it's thinking about. Do you want some good news?
Yeah.
Huh? Do you? Does anybody have any? It's done. You just won't let it show you that. You're looking for what is divine and timeless in a mind that creates time and the divine in its own image. That's why it's said in so many different ways, one must sell all and all the rest of that, because what's that describing, very simply, is eventually the recognition that who and what I am doesn't exist without a time in which I will be free or a time where I was a prisoner. doesn't exist. It's in a constant state of trying to mitigate one and get to another place. That's all it does in time and time. And it believes when it thinks about these things, the time when it's going to be free, it actually feels the freedom it imagines, not realizing that the moment it's imagined freedom based on some condition, it is going to run into a condition that contradicts it, and it's going to be thrown back in prison again. It can't see that. That's all it does. It's endless. But no I knows any other not I. No one part that's caught here thinking about this knows another part that's caught thinking about that. None of them know each other. That's why the work is the critical aspect of it is developing this awareness that you can begin to see that part of what life is part of doing what life asks you to do is to be present to the endless movement of all of this consciousness, all these various eyes of legion inside. So that in your awareness of it, everything can come and go, but the ground remains constant. And the ground is the understanding that everything is being brought in, everything is being finished, everything is being sent out perfectly, ceaselessly. And the good news is you just have to get sick and tired of being afraid and wanting. The grapevine wants the sunlight, but it doesn't want anything that it's not already being given. We want things that we can only give to ourselves, failing to see that everything we give to ourselves that we want gives us nothing but more appetite. Now, do you have to be a magician or a master or a mystic to be able to see that that's true? Or is it in front of you? It's in front of you. This is why they always talk about, pulling the veils back, polishing the mirror, all of these terms having to do with liberation, moksha, waking up. Because in the end, that's what it boils down to. But you have to be a participant. You have to understand. What was it? What did Mr. Howard say 1,000 years ago? How did the wise man become wise? He stopped answering his own questions. But you know what happens when you feel a question and you don't answer it? Panic. Yes or no? No? Like I'm gonna DTs. What are you so upset about? I'm trying. I don't want to. I know I shouldn't. I can't answer this question about what am I going to do about that person who said that thing to me yesterday. I want to think about it. I want answers, but I know I shouldn't. And if you stay long enough observing that, you'll watch the whole thing accumulate, culminate, and disappear. And then you have done what life is asking you to do, which is allow those aspects, those forces, another will to act upon this existing will. Let it stir it into its activity, and then you become the observer at last of your own consciousness instead of the instrument of its unconscious questions and answers. So I'm done talking, I think, Kate. I mean, we don't have to stop. If anybody wants to come up and talk about anything, that's great. But
about 7 minutes, if anyone wants to jump in.
I didn't really anticipate giving that long of a talk. I know.
Good.
What you were just talking about related to a question that somebody sent you this morning on Insight Timer.
Good.
That was.
Did I answer?
You did, yes. But what you said now kind of expanded on that explanation.
Nice and loud, Ellen.
Okay. So somebody wrote in, is there any value in remembering something you did that was
Oh,
wrong.
after you did that. Yeah.
After you
yeah,
did
yeah,
it.
yeah. I remember that.
And you said there is value in that, but I can't remember exactly what you said, but thought.
I said
it doesn't-
retrospective value isn't the same as reflective value.
Reflective,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And you said that thought doesn't change anything.
Nothing.
And this, what you said now, just like I said, it expanded on that. If that's the best we can do, the retrospective, then at least we've seen something.
At least
But-
there's enough separation to be aware of the fact that you acted and did the evil you would not, as opposed to the good you would. At least there was that.
But if you could be aware in the moment when it happened,
Mm.
then that would be
A new
doing
ballgame.
what life is asking of you in the moment, which is
Yes.
just to be aware,
To be.
to be. And then when you see what you do, then you can really see the separation between the self that's watching and would never do it if it could not do it.
I'll help you.
Yes.
There is no time, or I'll say it otherwise. Real actual awareness is timeless. If you are actually aware, then you're aware of everything that's in time. Thought, questions, all of that is in time, belongs to a time mind trying to escape itself in time from the time it created that it doesn't want. That's in time. Awareness is timeless. Awareness sees everything that is in time. In time cannot see itself, let alone be aware of what it does in its activity.
So that all the analysis we do after the fact just separates us more from.
Just this morning, around, I don't know what time it was, there was a quotation from K, from Krishnamurti, beautiful man. He says, he calls it paralysis by analysis.
Mhm.
And that's what it is. And the more paralyzed I am by my own analysis, the more I need answers. How do I get unparalyzed? How do I get out of this? I'm in a straitjacket. How do I get it? Stop tying it on to yourself.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of that connects. You know, we ultimately want to be present in the moment when the lesson is happening, which connects the to remember to remember.
Remember to remember. Yeah. Yeah. Here comes my son, my brother from another mother.
Yeah. We look a lot alike.
Oh, same height.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My gosh, what was I going to say?
My bad.
The state of not wanting to feel the way you feel
Yeah.
is it's actually very strange.
Yes, it is.
And yet it's what is happening
All the time.
a lot of the time. And, I like that phrase, the razor's edge. And it seems that that's what self-observation is.
Yes.
Is the razor's edge. Oh, okay, so this feeling that I don't like, I want to get rid of it. Well, that's not right. Well, what am I supposed to do? Like it? Well, no.
Can't
Not
do that anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
I have nowhere to go from there, but that was it.
No, look, what does a razor do? A razor is about as fine an edge as you can make, and it creates opposites.
Mhm.
But the opposites don't exist without the razor cutting through. So the razor's edge is the moment where I'm not what I don't want, and I'm not the one who wants to want it. I'm that which is both of those at the same time. That's the true razor's edge. That's why they call it the pathless land, all those things that connect to that idea of a razor's edge. It's another order of being. Really, you could say a razor's edge doesn't have a side, even though we know it does, but you understand what I'm saying. So I'm capable, here I am, I'm all the time not wanting to be where I am, going through what I'm going through, unless I'm out with people having a good time, eating pizza or whatever it is that I enjoy, then I'm kind of happy to be myself. But apart from that, especially when the party's over, then I don't want to be myself.
Mhm.
I don't want to go home. I don't want to look at the same four walls again in the mind, talking to myself about all the stuff. So which of these am I?
Neither.
Neither. That's the razor's edge.
Well, and both.
And both. And both. Exactly.
And a really common state that I feel is feeling lack of energy and not liking that.
Yeah, yeah.
That seems like a very common one.
So there's a lethargy, which is a
Mhm.
pretty good word.
Mhm.
And the lethargy, and you know what, Eric, and everybody, Eric's bringing up something important for everyone who will keep going. What do you think? How do you think this whole system is going to feel as you start to see the only thing that system wants to feel is yes or no, good or bad, want, not want? What is that system going to do? Go, this is fantastic. Or is it because of the observation, is it beginning to kind of wind down a little bit, right? I start to know I can't, that this isn't it, and that's not it. Not this, not that. Let me know if right?
Right, right.
Okay, so if it's not this and it's not that, all my energy is produced by wanting this and not wanting that. My identity, the energy of my identity is a product of desire.
Sort of a womped up energy.
Yes, a womped up energy. And as I see, as I learn, God help us to do it, that wanting and not wanting is a dead man's role. Nothing can happen. It's time, escaping time. And if I'm there, what am I living for? It may not say that, but there's a lethargy there. There's an absence of usual energy. That's what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And when there's this absence of usual energy, here's what it means. I'm not spending all of my energy to derive a sense of myself from the things that I want and don't want. I can't go there, but I don't know where the heck to go. Yeah. So we use these words. It feels like I'm stuck, but you're not stuck. You're seeing that you have been in a consciousness that is stuck on itself. And as the walls come in, which is part of what the work of truth does, is all that closes in on you, you start to have moments with, if you're not lethargic, you're in panic because you can't figure out where is this going to go, because I can't imagine it. I won't let myself do it. And yet everything in me wants to figure out how things are going to be when I do whatever it is that I'm supposed to do. And all of it, BH used to call it the collapse of the haunted house. Mm-hmm. It's just the collapse of the haunted house. But see, at first that sounds terrifying. But eventually you go, come on down. You will come on down. And then you'll realize you didn't really mean that.
And it will feel very odd to that nature.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, Eric.
That is used to womping up everything.
You have to go through into the unknown. It's the last thing this mind wants. The last thing, because everything about it is predicated on the known or what it doesn't want to know. That's all it's got. And when you take away the known, who I am, where I'm going, what's going to happen to me, who I was, why it happened that way, this confusion that I hope I can escape tomorrow when I feel better, all of that has to go like that and collapse. And when you take away all of the known, what am I left with? I can't find myself. And everything is telling me, well, it's okay. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's talking. And it betrays itself. I know you've seen some of this. You start to see this consciousness, when the rubber meets the road, it wants to hit the road and do anything to escape the lethargy or the sense of unknownness that one meets. And you learn to sit and watch that too. Mm-hmm. You learn to watch what fears the unknown. What fears the unknown?
Whatever it is that's describing.
Yeah, exactly. So the known fears the unknown. Mm-hmm. So when the known fears the unknown, what is the known fearing? Itself.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
And you see that, you've made a good run at it.
I know that you've been saying these things for years and years, but as something in here develops through time,
Yes.
it like goes to deeper and deeper levels of understanding.
Because it's there.
Right.
It's
It's all in
you're
there.
Katie. You're the one you've been waiting for.
Right.
But in order for the one that is waiting for this, the one who's always waiting has to get out of the way.
Right.
It has to get out of the way. A true school is like a deep watering station, because those that will remain participants in the exploration, not participants in the known, but participants in the exploration of the unknown. It's being watered. And what's being watered is the part of you that's trying to rise up, this light, kind of rise up, but it has to have food. It has to have what it takes, so that it's encouraged on one side, so that it's told no on the other side, so it can see, like Eric saying, I thought this was going to be nothing but autograph and sunglasses, and suddenly I realize it's not. And yet do I love him?
Right. Yeah. All right. I'm saying that because we could go on and on and on, right? But and that's what we do here. And we've come to the end of our time, but that doesn't mean that we won't stop the exploration. It continues tomorrow and the next day and the next day and your entire life. But tomorrow we have another class with Guy, our usual Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. And the topic for tomorrow's class will be Find the Field of Freedom Somewhere Out Beyond Fear. If you're registered for our ongoing series of classes on GoToWebinar, then you'll be all set. You'll get your reminder per the usual an hour before class. But if not, you can go to guyfinley.org/lettinggo and get registered, and you'll get a reminder before class begins. You're also welcome to set your own reminder and tune in on Facebook or YouTube, because we multicast to those platforms as well.
TikTok.
And maybe TikTok one day. Who knows? All right. And
Speaking of being a captive of time, TikTok, 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 TikTok.
Hickory. Okay, so also just encourage you to go to our events section on our website, because we do meet here weekly for classes. We also once a month have our work party, our Saturday work party, where just like what we did today, you're welcome to come join us. And then every 3 months, once a quarter, we have our Weekend of Wisdom. And the next one that's coming up is in September 22nd to the 24th. There is no greater joy in life than this is the topic. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. But go to our events section, guyfinley.org/events, and you can find out more, set reminders, contact us, just keep tuning in. So I think that's it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye. See you tomorrow.
Put the memories up on the chair.